There was a time when Saturday mornings smelled like pancakes and coffee, and the loudest thing in the neighborhood was a kid pedaling his bike with baseball cards stuck in the spokes. No notifications, no smart homes, just homes. You actually had to answer the phone to know who was calling. And believe it or not, people did. This was America in the 1970s, when gas was cheap, patience was normal, and the only thing wireless was your dog in the yard. Fast forward to 2026, and everything's faster, smaller, smarter, and somehow colder. We've traded handshakes for emojis, letters for seen receipts, and family dinners for food delivery apps. Sure, life's more convenient now. You can talk to your fridge, watch a movie on your watch, and get a week's worth of groceries without leaving the couch. But something's missing. And no, it's not just the Sears catalog. It's the little things we didn't realize mattered until they quietly disappeared. The sound of a typewriter, the click of a camera, the way you actually knew your neighbors. So, today we're taking a trip back to when milk came in glass bottles, kids played outside until the streetlights came on, and the word streaming had more to do with fishing than television. This is Life in America, 1970s versus 2026. The things we lost along the way. Let's see what we've gained and what might be worth bringing back. Step into a 1970s American home, and the first thing you'd notice wasn't a screen, it was the smell. A mix of coffee, hairspray, and whatever mom sprayed to cover up the meatloaf she may or may not have burned. The living room was the heart of the house, not because it had a home theater, but because it had people in it. Everyone gathered around one big television that looked more like a piece of furniture than electronics. You didn't have Netflix recommendations, you had 3 channels. And if the president was on, well, you were watching the president. The furniture? Oh, it was indestructible. Sofas built like tanks, ashtrays on every table, and lamps that could double as self-defense weapons. Every house had that one orange or avocado green appliance that somehow matched nothing, and that was fine because it wasn't supposed to. Fast forward to 2026, and our homes got smarter, but maybe a little lonelier. The living room's still there, but now it's filled with silent screens, smart speakers, and people wearing headphones, sitting next to each other, scrolling separate worlds. The TV doesn't bring us together. It follows us around, on our phones, on our tablets, even on the fridge. And somehow, the more connected our houses got, the quieter they became. Don't get me wrong, it's nice telling Alexa to dim the lights instead of getting up, but I kinda miss when smart homes had smart people inside them who actually talked, argued, and laughed face to face. Maybe the 1970s living room wasn't perfect, but it had heart. It had noise, mess, and moments you couldn't replay, only remember. And that's something no smart device has figured out how to recreate yet. Back in the 1970s, staying connected meant something completely different. If you wanted to talk to someone, you picked up the phone, the one that was attached to the wall. Every call started with that dramatic rotary dial spin. And if you messed up the last number, oh, you were starting all over again. Character building stuff right there. There was no caller ID, so every ring was a mystery. Could be your friend, your boss, or your mother-in-law. You took your chances. And when someone said, "I'll call you back," they actually did. Letters were a big deal too. You'd spend 10 minutes choosing the right paper, lick a stamp, and then wait days, sometimes weeks, just to hear back. That wait made every reply feel like a little gift. Fast forward to 2026. Now we can send a message across the world in less time than it takes to sneeze. And yet, we hardly say anything anymore. We replaced love letters with K-texts. We send heart emojis instead of actual hearts. And calling someone without texting first? That's basically an act of war. Don't get me wrong. Technology's incredible. We can video chat, voice note, even have AI write our messages, which is great until both people in the conversation are robots pretending to care. Back then, conversations had pauses. People listened. There was warmth in a voice and meaning in the silence. Today, the silence just means you've been left on red. Maybe we didn't have the world at our fingertips in the 70s, but we had each other. And sometimes that was enough. In the 1970s, going to work meant you actually went somewhere. You wore a tie, carried a briefcase, and spent half the morning complaining about traffic over a cup of burnt office coffee. Work wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. You punched in, did your job, punched out, and maybe grabbed a beer with your buddies afterward. The American dream wasn't about becoming a billionaire. It was about owning a home, raising your kids, and having a barbecue on the weekend. Your boss probably knew your name. Heck, he might even live down the street. There were company picnics, Christmas parties, and this magical thing called a pension. You worked 30 years and actually retired, not side hustled yourself into exhaustion. Fast forward to 2026, and work doesn't look like work anymore. Now it's remote jobs, online meetings, and people pretending to be frozen on Zoom when they're just done listening. Nobody works 9 to 5. It's more like always on. Your phone buzzes, your boss slacks you at midnight, and somehow you're expected to be grateful for flexibility. The old American dream was about stability. The new one's about survival. We traded pensions for personal brands and offices for Wi-Fi passwords. And while progress gave us options, it also took away that sense of belonging. Don't get me wrong. Working from home has perks. You can wear pajamas, avoid traffic, and your coworker can't microwave fish in the break room. But sometimes, don't you miss walking into a building that smelled like coffee and ambition? In the 1970s, people didn't call it grind culture. They just called it a living. And even though they worked hard, they still found time to live. Maybe the American dream didn't die. It just changed its wardrobe. But sometimes, when I see an old factory whistle in a museum or a faded "Help Wanted" sign, I wonder if progress really gave us more freedom or just a better Wi-Fi signal to chase the same dream. Back in the 1970s, entertainment didn't come from 1,000 apps. It came from one big box in the corner of the room, the television. And when it was on, the whole house knew. You didn't scroll through endless options. You just prayed something good was on. 3 channels, maybe 4 if the antenna cooperated. And if you missed your show, that was it. You didn't stream it later. You waited an entire week like a civilized human being. Friday nights were special. The Love Boat, Dallas, MASH, names that still echo in living rooms that smelled faintly of popcorn and carpet cleaner. Families gathered, argued over the remote, and shared the same laughter in real time. And the music? Oh, the music was alive. Vinyl crackles, cassette tapes, jukeboxes spinning at diners. You didn't just hear songs, you felt them. You played them so often, the tape wore thin, and somehow that made them better. Compare that to today's world, where every song ever made fits in your pocket, yet nobody agrees on what to listen to. We have algorithms deciding our taste, auto-generated playlists, and 10-second TikTok hooks trying to pass as music. Back then, you'd save up to buy one record, and when the needle hit, it felt like magic. Now, we skip a song after 7 seconds because the vibe changed. The way we watched and listened wasn't just about entertainment. It was about togetherness. TV nights, mixtapes for crushes, radio dedications that made your heart race. The soundtrack of life was something you built, not streamed. Maybe we've gained convenience, but we've lost that shared moment when everyone in the country saw the same finale, heard the same song, and remembered exactly where they were. And sure, today's tech is amazing. You can binge, rewind, and watch anything anytime. But nothing beats those nights when you heard the words, "Don't touch that dial." In the 1970s, cars weren't just vehicles. They were freedom on 4 wheels. You didn't need a destination, just a full tank and a mixtape. Families hit the open road with no GPS, no playlists, no seatbelts in the back, just trust, snacks, and way too much wind in your face. Road trips were an adventure. Dad had the map upside down, Mom swore we missed the exit, and someone in the back seat was always yelling, "Are we there yet?" And somehow, that was the fun part. Cars had character back then. Big chrome smiles, bench seats wide enough for 3, and ashtrays in every door, because apparently everyone smoked, even your aunt's parakeet. You didn't just drive your car, you named it. The Beast, Old Faithful, Blue Betty. Air travel too had a touch of glamour. People actually dressed up for flights. You got meals on real plates, legroom for actual legs, and flight attendants who looked like they stepped out of a magazine ad. Nobody was fighting over overhead bin space because carry-on bags were the size of lunch boxes. Now, in our modern world, cars have touchscreens, Wi-Fi, and dashboards that look like spaceships. They can park themselves, drive themselves, probably judge your music taste too. But with all this smart tech, somehow driving feels a little dumber. Traffic's worse, gas is pricier, and half the time we're staring at a navigation app to tell us how to get to a place we've been 50 times. Freedom became estimated arrival 3 hours, 27 minutes. Flying isn't elegant anymore either. It's survival. You shuffle through security barefoot, clutching a plastic bag of shampoo, praying your flight isn't delayed another 15 minutes for the next 3 hours. Somewhere along the way, motion stopped feeling like adventure and started feeling like obligation. We move faster, but we see less. Still, there's something timeless about the open road. That moment when you roll the windows down, radio humming, sunset stretching across the sky, and for just a second, it feels like 1978 again. Like America is still out there waiting, just past the next turn. In the 1970s, food wasn't just about eating. It was about gathering. Families actually sat at the same table, talked about their day, and passed the mashed potatoes instead of passing the Wi-Fi password. Dinner smelled like love and butter. Mom made casseroles that could feed a small army, and nobody asked if it was gluten-free. You drank whole milk, not oat almond hemp fusion. Backyard barbecues were the real social media. You had neighbors, smoke in the air, and that one uncle who thought he was a grill master because he owned tongs. Today, mealtime looks different. Everyone's eating alone, staring at screens, scrolling while chewing. We order family meals that arrive in paper bags and somehow forget to invite the family. Maybe that's what we lost along the way. Not the recipes, but the ritual. The sound of laughter over clinking forks, the smell of something homemade, the feeling of being part of something bigger than your phone. Because in the end, it was never just about the food. It was about who you shared it with. Time is a funny thing. It moves so quietly, you barely notice what it takes with it, until one day you look around and realize the world isn't the same one you grew up in. Progress gave us comfort, connection, and convenience, but it also took a few things it never meant to. Patience, presence, and that feeling of truly being here. We can't rewind the world, and maybe we shouldn't try. Every generation builds something new and forgets something old. But maybe, just maybe, remembering what we lost is the first step to bringing some of it back. Because the past isn't gone. It's just waiting in the mirror, reminding us who we were and who we still can be. This was American Time Mirror. If this stirred a memory, share it so someone else remembers too.